So good afternoon. My name is Einstein Millan. I'm a software architect here at Whiteprompt. And today I'm going to give you a little bit of information about the Slackbot and how we can perhaps increase productivity with it. So just so you know, online OTTs or online tech talks is just a way for us to share any neat information, research, things we're working with in our free time with the rest of the company. So I encourage everyone to participate and share knowledge as a whole. And if you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, subscribe. And if you have, give us a like. Okay, this is taking me back to the link. Okay. So what are Slackbots? Slackbots are handy robot assistants that hang out in Slack and wait for commands, events, or some sort of trigger to create or relay any information that you need. It's basically what a Slackbot is. So they're often considered self-serving tools customers use to obtain answers to their questions. These bots are used for a variety of reasons, some of which include helping with marketing and sales processes. Some can even act, mind the typo, as a personal assistant to teams across a variety of departments. Chatbots are being integrated into numerous channels of internal communications, one with the Slack, which is Slack. Slack has become one of the most popular channels for teams to communicate about projects. And the platform has now more than 2 million daily active users, and as a result, it has also jumped onto the Slackbot train, allowing companies to integrate these assistants into their conversations and lend a helping hand. Slackbots have been around for a bit, but they've just developed there's a beta, which is the one that I've been using lately. And it has a very basic and simple to understand flow as to how you deploy and build your bot. You have functions, you have workflows, and you have triggers. I'm going to talk about triggers first. And they're, like I said, one of the building blocks for your next generation Slack apps. Since triggers are what trigger your workflows, you need to have a workflow before you can create a trigger. And I know it sounds a little bit convoluted, but it's the way it's activated is you first activate the trigger. The flow is associated with functions. These can be custom or native to the Slackbot environment. And then it just runs and does what it needs to do. So these are the types of triggers. You have link triggers, you have scheduled triggers, you have event triggers, and you have webhooks. So link triggers are triggers that you basically once you deploy, you put them in a Slack channel as a link, and it triggers your workflow. Scheduled triggers are self-explanatory. They're fired every so often based upon a schedule which you program into it. And you also have event triggers, and these are more complex and offer a bigger variety of ways to activate a trigger that in turn activates the workflow. And these can be certain messages. If you mention the robot or if you directly write a specific message, it's very, very, very flexible. And webhooks is just an API endpoint that you call with specific parameters that also activate the workflow. So I'm going to talk about functions now. And I mentioned we have built-in functions and custom functions. And these are the built-in functions are native to React. So you can use them alongside custom functions in workflow, and they can be imported via the Slack SDK. There's something says that I haven't come across, which is building workflows functions. There's a 15-second timeout per function. So the function is not finished with the 15 seconds from the time it started, it'll error out. So there are some limitations. And the custom functions are the ones that I have been most exposed with. So the neat thing about this one is you can program anything into it with any library. You can call custom endpoints. You can talk to WebSockets. You can do many things there. And then workflows is where you put together your functions. So once you define the workflow, you can add functionality by calling the built-in functions and the custom functions from within. Very straightforward. These are some of the use cases for the Slackbots for increasing productivity. Some of them I have used them on my present project. Some of them I have not. And since the project I'm in right now, that I'm working on right now, is mostly oriented towards data, sometimes we need to have to activate the pipelines manually, meaning that an engineer would have to go maybe to AWS or somewhere and call a script. It's a bit more obscure. So what we did is we added a link trigger that displays a form in Slack. And in the form, you fill out the parameters that go in, that are fed into your ETLs. And then it just fires the ETL from there. And the aim of this is to allow business or the client to also be able to do fire some processes that we have there in place. Additionally, we provided the client with visibility, so you can model your data pipelines and you can send notifications to the interested parties within Slack. So for example, when an ETL starts, if you've encountered any errors along the process, when it has finished, how many entities it has processed, anything you want. You can monitor CI/CD pipelines, you can fire CI/CD pipelines, you can run internal polls, which is something we've done on White Prompt to understand our workers a little bit better, to understand our staff a little bit better as to what their interests are, especially in relation to the OTTs. You can welcome users to Slack channels and perhaps relaying protocols and guidelines as to how to interact with other users. You can alert concerned parties of emergencies or general notifications about system failures. You can remind of upcoming meetings, which I think is something we do at White Prompt already. So when it integrates beautifully with your Google Calendar, it's certainly helped me. And you can also ask, you could program a Slackbot to ask it frequently asked questions. So that way you don't have to bug anybody. I think we can do many things at White Prompt with this. So I know this is a short talk, but I hope it was informative. I don't know if anyone has questions or comments about this. Hearing none. Okay. I want to thank everyone for attending the call and for listening in.